And welcome back to the Constitutionals Podcast. I'm your host, Chad White. If you didn't know, this is the 200th episode for the premier podcast for the website, cpluscomedy.com. Like I just said, it's a website. Go there. That's right. Almost a mistake, but no mistakes this time on episode 200 of a show where I sit down in front of a mic and I talk and I talk and I talk and I talk and I talk. Here we are. I can't believe we made it this far. I was just on the C Plus Comedy website, which I like the way it looks, and thank you, Squarespace, for the template, the free template that I pay for every month. But it's not free, that means I pay for it. However, and yet, it's a horror site to get around. Good Lord. I can't even search an episode of the Constitutionals. I have to use the keywords that I type in. I just want to type in episode 1. So what I did was I just typed in the Constitutionals on the search thing, and then it brought up random episodes of Constitutionals. So I scrolled down to the earliest one, which for some reason it didn't bring me 1 through 14. So I had to scroll down to 15, which was also halfway through the page and not the bottom where 122 was for some reason. And I had to go all the way back. Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, baby. That's a very good song. I'm not joking. Listen to the lyrics. If they don't like it, because they're always complaining, if they don't like it, then they're going to rob them. Okay. Anyway, 200. Here we are. Friday, April 9th. It's a long time coming. I think the last 2 winters I just stopped doing this show without some type of warning. So I probably would have reached 200 maybe in January, February this year. But I just, this show is so dependent on, business news. And during that time, I don't do lists. I don't do top 10 lists. I just do suggestions now. And this show and news time single-handedly ruined my love of lists, as if there was one before. If you hear something that sounds like a giant, like a I'm watching the Masters. It is on the television in the living room. I'm currently in the dining room, and they are fairly close to each other. So I did turn it down. But I just want to leave it up because it's golf. So if you hear a whack, I'm not outside in the Serengeti. I'm not traversing the Amazon, slashing my way through with my machete, slashing the branches and the leaves and the grass. I'm at home with the Masters on. Now, if you do hear a rumbling coming from outdoors, from outside, it is in fact an elephant running by. Episode 200. So I was looking at episode 1. Also the air is on. Who cares? And the cat's behind me taking a little nap. But she did get up earlier and shake her little head because of those ear mites. And let me fix my hair. And it jingled her little bell. So I thought, I don't know if this is going to work. I mean, I know it's going to work because I just listened to it. But I just want to listen to like a couple of seconds of the original episode. Now, mind you, I listened to 1 minute and 50 seconds already. So let's take this on a spin. I was thinking of just making it down to 2 podcasts instead of having 3. Oh, this is me describing from episode 1 why I'm doing this show. Previously, I had alone time, which was just me sitting alone, basically doing a 15-minute version of this. And then there was also intimate conversations, which is me one-on-one with somebody talking about their life. And then there was the Chad White podcast, which was this, but with 3 people, with 2 other people. And it got to be so tough scheduling wise that I decided to boil all those down into this episode. This one episode to this podcast. And apparently I have another podcast, but let's keep going. And mixing up intimate conversations and alone time. This is the result of that. Should not scream, probably. This is the result of that. I got this nice microphone, and I got some headphones, some cans, as we'll call them. Turn up the cans, as rappers say. And no rappers say that. Shut up, computer. Probably should have muted everything. And so, I mean, it's as you can hear, it sounds as though I've not changed from the meandering person that I am. Those are dog barking. Ruining the 200th episode. It was ruined 5 minutes ago when it started. Here we go. Decided to make it into one little podcast called Alone Time. Just get rid of intimate conversations and just call it Alone Time. Me, one other person, mostly me, and we'll just. I don't think that one other person thing has ever happened. So, what am I getting into? I don't want to waste any more time. After a preamble like that, there'd be a theme song, but I don't have a theme song yet. I will look for one. I'll have to buy the rights to it, and then I will use it. That never happened. That's how songs work. That's what I did for the News Time theme song, which I love. I did buy the rights so much. I bought it on a website called Audio Network back before their prices went up. Oh wow, their prices went up at least 3 times in the course of C+ Comedy's life. Isn't that interesting? Anyway, I just thought that was nice to listen to me talk for a little bit. If you want to check out the first episode, pay me money. Because it costs money to throw these things up. And keep them up. It's true. I gotta pay not server fees, but storage fees, hosting fees, all that stuff. And if I made money, baby, I gotta keep it up. Instead of the last 10 episodes, I keep that messed up all the time. Oh my gosh, the mouse fell asleep. There we go. So we are still doing constitutionals. I'm glad to do it. Glad to have a little outlet. That's what I was telling my therapist Tuesday. Glad to have an outlet such as constitutionals and news time. I don't like the name of the constitutionals, but you know what? It was something else when I first started the show. I don't remember what it was, and then I thought, truly, constitutionals popped in my head, and I went, "Whoa, we gotta do it! I gotta do the constitutionals. That's a funnier name." Oh, I'm also wearing a podcast themed shirt. I only own 2, and they were both given to me. One was a birthday gift, and the other was because of a subscription, the subscription to the Never Not Funny podcast, and they gave you shirts because you subscribed for however many months in a row. But this first one comes from, and I don't want to buy podcast stuff. I don't like supporting them that way. I'll go to the shows, but at some point, and this goes the same thing for stuff that I like on it. This goes for anything that I like. If I buy the shirt, and then something happens where I lose the fandom, I still have the shirt, and I'm so embarrassed by it. It's a very true thing. But this shirt, if you're watching the video, comes from, that says "Not Feeling It," and it has a chicken on it, and it comes from Pete Holmes. My friend gave it to me, and I love the shirt. But again, I don't like to buy podcast stuff because I lose fandom all the time for things, and maybe I'm not a real fan, but that's why I keep the things I like close to my chest instead of telling people about them. Because at some point, it happened in the last year. It happens with things, stuff that comes from the internet mostly. But jeez Louise, you can't like everything. I'm being vague about the thing that happened too, but I've talked about it on the show. It's been a topic of the show. So go back and listen to it. Oh, you can't, because I don't pay for the hosting fees. But you can go to the website and just, look through the episode. 200. I guess 10 minutes up top was great. Is good enough about it. So let's move on to the 3 stories that I wrote down this week. See, that was a thing about this episode because I knew it was coming for 3 or 4 weeks, so I could have planned something. But I was so unsure of what I was going to do. And then this Monday hit, and then Wednesday hit, and then Thursday hit, and I only had one thing on the topic list, on the Notion topic list for C++ or for the Constitutionals under C++ Comedies folder. This is just if I die, you know where to find the notes for C++ Comedy between my Drive and my Notion list. Notion's hard to figure out. If you like note taking and you like making tables and stuff, and you like getting into the minutia of that stuff, go to Notion. Notion is tough. Notion's a very tough thing to get a grasp of. And there's like whole YouTube videos where people are sharing like 20-minute, 30-minute, 40-minute ways, like videos of how to work Notion. And it's just so hard. And now I got all this free time. What was I talking about? And that's what this show should be called. 200. And you know, it was just so difficult to find stories, and so I thought, okay, well maybe I should do something for the show, like something special. I thought about re-releasing the first episode, and then I thought about re-releasing because they were on an existing RSS feed at one point. Re-releasing Alone Time or the Chad White podcast, and I just felt lazy because I did want to record an episode, even though it is now almost 5 o'clock Eastern time on Friday, when the show usually comes out. All like on video, it'd usually be out by now. So here we are, doing 203 news stories that I think are pretty substantial enough. So let's get into the first one. This comes from Variety, written by Jordan Moreau. Top Gun Maverick, Mission Impossible 7 among... Those aren't the same movies. There's a comma in between Maverick and Mission. But that would be a good movie. Top Gun Maverick, Mission Impossible 7. Oh my gosh. I can already see it. Among latest Paramount delays. So because of the pandemic, movie companies have been shuffling their releases and everything. I'm going to take a little pause. There is a movie theater by me that opened up, I want to say, a month or a week or so before the pandemic really hit. I think it was like a week or two before the pandemic really hit, before March 16th, Atlanta shut down. And I remember I told you that Sunday, I said, you know what? I'm going to go. This pandemic looks serious. I'm going to see one more movie before everything closes. I'm going to go see The Invisible Man. And then those women sat behind me and were loud and just talking. And this is after the I think it was either the CDC or Dr. Anthony Fauci who was rising to prominence. But they said, should we wear a mask? And also, maybe we should stay away from each other. And I took it to heart, and I said, we should stay away from each other. And everybody in the theater was sitting nicely spaced. Everybody was nicely spaced. So these women came in and sat behind me. Then I got up, walked forward three levels. I don't know, that's worse than aisles. And 3 rows, and I sat down and made a big show of it. I was like, yeah, I didn't do that. I just got up and walked 3 spots ahead. So here we are. So now there's this movie theater, an AMC that opened up near me, walkable distance on the Atlanta's Beltline Trail. I wouldn't say walk. It is walkable. I do walk that stretch of the Beltline all the time, but I wouldn't say it's a decision you have to think about. Do I really want to walk 15 minutes to this place? Yeah, I mean, I could. Something like that. Or it's like 15, 20 minutes. Anyway. But it is walkable. If I had a bike, I could ride it down there, be there in 5. So, it opened up like a week or 2 before the pandemic started. And I thought, oh man, that's a perfect place to see a movie. This AMC, perfect place to see a movie. A nice Saturday morning movie. Year later, they're now open again, and I'm thinking about going to the movies. Now, I wouldn't do it on Saturday morning, and I wouldn't do it because they're not open on Saturday mornings for some reason. I don't even know, but the thing is, I don't know if they're open on Mondays either. I would go on Mondays, is what I'm trying to say. I was planning out to see Nobody, starring Bob Odenkirk, which is like John Wick, but if he was shorter and just as white. I was a little bit older, so I was thinking about doing that. I am vaxxed up, baby. So Paramount has shifted its movies. I'm just going to rip off the Band-Aid right now. Mission Impossible 7 is next May, and I've been waiting for this movie. I love Mission Impossible so much. I love it so much. And I saw the screen light up, and I had a chance to turn down the volume, but who cares? Top Gun Maverick is going to November, so that's going to be a good fall movie. Winter movie. From its previous day of July 2nd. Mission Impossible is going from November 19th to May 2022. Mission Impossible 8 is moving to July 7th, 2023. Maybe it'll move up to May. Apparently, the Memorial Day weekend is special for Mission Impossible because that's where every single one of them has released. And what's Chris Pine's movie? That is the Tomorrow War. That was just bought by Amazon, and that had been in contention for streaming release. Dungeons and Dragons with Chris Pine, Hugh Grant, and Reggae John Page is going to 2023. It was at 2022. Another Jackass movie is moving from September 2021 to October 2021. It's not that big of a push. And then we got a G.I. Joe spinoff. Yes, the Channing Tatum G.I. Joe movie. Also, the sequel, the Dwayne Johnson the sequel where Channing Tatum was killed in the first 10 minutes, and then I thought, oh, they're going to bring him back. They're going to bring him back because, like, the movie's about him. And then, nope, it was just Dwayne Johnson the rest of the movie. I believe so. I got G.I. Joe movie. Let me see. 2009. The Rise of Cobra. No, Retaliation. Rise of Cobra was the first one. I like them both. I don't care. I just don't. I just don't care anymore. Movies are fun. Oh, like Kong versus Godzilla versus Kong. Oh, Jesus. I was waiting for that movie for I think they talked about it in like 2014. And I was waiting for that movie forever. They talked. It was before the Kong movie came out. Kong and Skull Island, which I own. Oh, so good. Both so good. Yeah, it was Dwayne Johnson. Dwayne Johnson's in this movie. And Bruce Willis. They killed him in... Yes, because they're framed for... And then he kills Duke and other Joes using a heavy... And then Roadblock is the main character for the rest of the movie. Dwayne Johnson. It's a fine movie. What do you... Oh, John M. Chu directed that. He also directed In the Heights. I like John M. Chu. He's a good guy. I don't know. Oh, he's doing Wicked. I want Crazy Rich Asians. Because he is a rich Asian. I don't know if he's crazy. So all the movies have moved. A lot of tentpole films. I'll tell you that much. A lot of tentpole films. I guess you could call it... I mean, Top Gun Maverick is a sequel. I guess you could call it original. I don't know what that is, but... an untitled John Krasinski and Ryan Reynolds movie is coming out in 2023. I'm sure it'll have so many people of color in it. So movies have to be shifted around. Next year it is Jason Kilar, whatever his name is for Warner Media, said that all of the movies will be coming out in theaters and not on streaming. We've got, oh man, this topic should have been second. Whatever. We've got, in a couple of minutes, we'll talk about Sony making a streaming deal with Netflix, which I think is a very good deal. Very, very good deal. Sony had a deal with Stars, which I don't think makes sense. But I guess it brings eyes to Stars. But they got like Venom and Spider-Man Far From Home and Spider-Man Homecoming and Spider-Man. This movie is still full of white people somehow in New York, and it's like girls. Spider-Man is like girls. Tom Holland Spider-Man's like, no, all the Spider-Mans are like girls. I enjoy Girls. I never want to watch it again, but I enjoyed my time with it, and it was frustrating and just over dramatic. But I enjoyed my time. It brought us Andrew Rannells, Allison Williams, Zasha Mamet, is her name? Zosha, and the rest. I enjoyed my time with Girls. Never want to see it again. Never ever want to see it again. I didn't want to see a clip. I didn't want to be reminded that it came out. So we have all of these. That's. We'll get to it in a second. Let's stop the movie talk and move on to screenwriter talk. This guy wrote a movie. Chris Terrio wrote Justice League, and he wrote Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Now, if you go to Vanity Fair, Anthony Brezican did a deep, extensive interview with this Chris Terrio man. He's a screenwriter, and he's pissed off. Justice League screenwriter Chris Terrio is super pissed off. I said each one of those words without putting them together in one sentence. I said it over the course of like 3. So now the Snyder Cut is out. I don't think I've said that I watched it. It was great. I enjoyed my time with it. I would watch it again. I would watch it again, but in gray. I would watch it again in gray. No, I really did enjoy my time with it. So that movie came out, and lo and behold, it existed. And then before that, Justice League came out. That is the same movie. But Justice League came out. Batman v Superman came out, and that was again like Justice League, chopped and screwed. 30 whole minutes were taken out of the movie, and the movie didn't make sense. And then in between all of that, but then after the fact, Zack Snyder convinced Warner to release his director's ultimate cut, and the movie is good. So, in between that, we have, Fisher. Excuse me, I'm sorry, Ray Fisher. Ray Fisher coming out and saying, hey, Joss Whedon wasn't nice. And Warner's hemming and hawing for years, and people are slowly starting to believe Fisher. And then a bunch of white girls from Buffy last month say that they were uncomfortable around Joss, and this happened around Joss. And then all of a sudden, everyone believes Ray Fisher. Odd how that happens. And so Ray Fisher was right. And then Warner stands by. They say, no. And then last week, a whole profile of Ray Fisher comes out where he goes into detail talking about, and then it's all confirmed. And Josh said this, and then representatives for people were like, yeah, this happened, and then this happened, and this happened, and the only people who look bad in it are Warner Media, who also won't give me a job, Ray. So if you wanted to work on something, we can. You and me, brother. It'd be great. We'll make our own cyborg movie, and it'll be good. And you'll never have to say booyah. If you don't want to. I mean, the crowds, they'd love it. So now Terrio sat down with Bergesen, is that his name? Over at Vanity Fair. Breznican. Excuse me. I'm sorry. And I think it's a very wide-ranging interview that covers all the stuff, good and bad. He does not blame Zack Snyder. He blames the studio. He does not like Joss Whedon. Terrio talks about how he got to work with Snyder, how he wasn't allowed on set. He wasn't banned, just how he wasn't allowed. Doesn't blame Snyder for anything. Has a good relationship with Zack. And I do feel bad for this guy. Oh, and then the original ending of Batman v Superman was darker because at the end, Batman has a brand where he was branding villains early on in the movie. Bad guys. Because again, this is a different Batman. And yes, he uses guns. And yes, he attacks people. But not everything has to be comic accurate. Unless you're Marvel and you cast all white characters. No, but they put out Black Panther. It took a whole movie about a fake African nation to put some people of color in this universe. So, and then the original ending had him branding Lex Luthor, but instead Batman just punched a wall and he branded the prison wall. I really enjoy Batman v Superman. It's ultimate. The ultimate version is the only way I'll watch it from now on. And if I ever watched the Zack Snyder's Justice League again, that'd be the only reason. That'd be the only way to watch that Justice League, because the first one is not good, and I like everything. Man. I do like the Spider-Man movies. I'm making fun of them all the time, but I think I like Tom Holland. You notice he never stars in movies with people of color. So it's very true. Go look at his Wikipedia. The argument, he pushed back. He tried to fight back against Terrio. Tried to fight back against Warner. And I think his friends, his friends didn't want to be associated with him. He says this in so many words. They didn't want to be associated with him after Justice League failed. At first, this is what I said when I read this interview yesterday. I went, man, those aren't your friends. If you think of how many bad movies Will Ferrell has made, you think his friend or Adam Sandler, you think their friends go, this was horrible. No, they just go, oh, it was great, fine. Or it didn't do so hot, whatever. And they move on, and they're still friends. If I wrote a movie, let's say I write the Static Shock movie, which is not happening with me, but if I write the Static Shock movie, and it comes out and it just bombs, the people I know will still like me. Like if anyone doesn't like you. If anyone you've known for years does not like you because a movie came out and it did not do well, Jesus. And then, one thing you can do to save face is to go, hey, they took the script. I wasn't allowed on set. The end. Seriously, Chris, if you're listening or watching this, you don't need those people. You don't need those people at all. Why didn't he remove his name, you might ask? He says, I think it would have created a whole wave of negative publicity that I think would have made the situation worse for the actors and all the cast people. I mean, did Gal Gadot, Jason Momoa, J.K. Simmons, who was in there for a hot second, Ezra Miller, before he punched that woman, he did punch a woman, I keep that in mind. Jesus. Ben Affleck, who else is in there? Joe Morton. Were their lives made worse because Justice League came out? No. So why would you remove your name? And why would you? Your friends suck. Chris, I'll be your friend. Okay, so now that the movie's out, now that Zack Snyder's version is out, now you get to see the original vision. Yes, there are problems. Yes, there's slow motion. Oh, if you take out the slow motion, you'll have 30 more minutes. Who cares? You guys watched 28 movies where Iron Man said the S word. And that was the joke. So there we go. And the last thing, another movie thing. Oh, surprise, surprise, I talked about it already. It's Netflix getting the PVOD streaming rights. Just call it streaming rights. The streaming rights to Sony's feature films and multi-year deal written by Mia Gallupo over at The Hollywood Reporter. I applied. I probably shouldn't talk about this. I applied to The Wrap was advertising for a reporter / blogger in LinkedIn, and I applied to it. I think I'd be good at it. I love to see my name in a byline. Also, it's fully remote, which is wonderful. So I don't have to move to Los Angeles. I was listening to... I don't listen to a lot of podcasts anymore. There's an episode, I think 1 or 2 episodes of this show, where I was purging podcasts or telling listeners about the podcasts I listen to. And it looks like it's finally about to rain. I was told it was going to rain all day today and all day on Saturday. And I get up and I go to the gym and I come home and I get my grocery shopping done. And I buckle in because I think it's going to rain. And it was sunny all day long. And I think the podcast, the amount of podcasts I listened to was 96. I think that was the highest number I got up to. And again, I fell out of fandom. I just stopped caring about the people or whatever they were talking about. And to date, I'm still chopping off podcasts here or there, but to date, I think I have like 42. And one of them is a video feed of an audio podcast. So I'm down to 41. And that's still too much. And like 8 of them are news. 8 of them are news. And 8 of them publish every day? I don't listen to them all every day. That's insane. But yeah, I just had to cut some of that stuff down. Anyway, get back to this. So the streaming rights are now moving from Stars over to I keep wanting to say Showtime. Stars over to Netflix. And I think this is such a great move. That means Netflix, it's a 5-year pact and it's going to begin in 2022. Netflix is going to get Morbius, Uncharted, Bullet Train, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Oh, the sequel to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. The Bad Boys movies. Jumanji movies. Which is great. Also, one less reason to have Stars. Although I don't pay for it. Oh, it's called Spider-Man No Way Home. I like that title. What was the second one called? Far From Home? And the first one was Homecoming. Oh! Am I dumb? Am I stupid? Not only that, Sony has the chance to make streaming-only movies with this deal, which I think is great. Sony does not... I mean, they could start their own streamer. I don't think they have the library to do it. Please don't. I can't pay for another service. I know I don't have to. I choose to. But this is a smarter deal to bring their stuff to the biggest streaming platform in the galaxy. Do you think aliens have Netflix? You think one day Netflix is going to release subscriber numbers and there's going to be like a bottom line, and then people are going to be like, "Well, what are those numbers down there?" And then Ted's going to be like, Ted Sarandos is going to be like, "Well, those are about 1 to 2 million unaccounted for accounts. We think those are business accounts. People we think they're business accounts for businesses." And then in actuality, they're all like aliens streaming from space. they love Enola Holmes. Oh boy, speaking of movies about white people, how can you make a movie about the granddaughter? I think Millie Bobby Brown is just overrated. She was the worst part of Godzilla versus Kong. Oh my god. I was watching it with somebody, and every time this Millie Bobby Brown and Brian Tyree Henry, two people with three names that are overrated. Every time they popped up on Scream, I just I just turned to the person, that was with me. I was like, oh, you enjoy the movie so far? Just try not to pay attention, because God, they were so freaking annoying. If hey Warner, if you want to cut some people out of movies, I just heard a golf swing. Maybe it was Jordan Spieth. With the pack, Netflix will have access to new pipeline of first-run film offerings, including a steady supply of Marvel content, which has been out of reach for the streaming service since the launch of Disney Plus. I wonder if Sony reached out to Disney. I know people would like to have their Marvel stuff in one place. I think that'd be easier. But I wonder if Sony reached out, or I wonder if Disney reached out to Sony, because in that case, Sony had the upper hand. But no one knew it was going to happen. And no one knew it was going to happen. Whoa, Paramount Plus. Oh, I remember this. Yeah, Paramount Plus stated that some of its major theatrical titles, and I served under major theatrical titles in the popcorn wars, the cinema wars, the streaming wars. God. Oh, I had 3 chances. 3 chances to get this one stupid joke right, and I didn't. Let's try it again. Major theatrical title. Let's try it at the top. And Paramount stated that some of its major theatrical titles, including Mission Impossible 7 and A Quiet Place 2, will debut on Paramount Plus 45 days after the big screen runs. I served under major theatrical titles in the streaming wars. Okay. Cut that part out for Instagram, and they will never know that I messed it up in the first place. Suckers. The announcement notes that Sony's theatrical output will continue at its current volume. So they're going to have streaming movies. Excuse me? They're going to have streaming movies, and they're also going to have these theatrical films. This is how I think Paramount should have done it. I don't think they have the legs for Paramount Plus. I am a subscriber. Everybody needs some type of outlet, and this just secures a way for Sony to have the reach. Stars, it was great to have things on Stars, but Stars is not something that people actively go out and buy. And especially after they cancel American Gods. All that sex and violence. It's a good show. And The Girlfriend Experience, which I watched 1 episode of, but it's still in my list. The streamer will have the ability to license the rights to select titles from Sony's library, which includes Columbia's nearly century-old catalog, as well as other studio labels. TriStar. I was just on TriStar's Wikipedia page this morning for My Two Dads, I think. I was watching Mad About You, and then so I was looking at Paul Reiser, whatever. TriStar, Sony Picture Classics, and Screen Gems. Oh, and this is not the first time that Netflix and Sony have teamed up. They have a pre-existing output deal for Sony Picture Animation titles. There was a time a couple of years ago where Sony said they were going to recut R-rated movies for family audiences. And everybody freaked out. Everybody was like, no. No, 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 no. That's not how you do it. Do not recut our movies. And they didn't end up doing it. But this is one of the better moves. All right, that's all I have to say on this. Listen, this is episode 200 of the Constitutionals podcast. If you want to watch or listen to the other 199, if you want to watch any episode past episode 64, I believe was the first video version, cpluscomedy.com or youtube.com/cpluscomedy. That's where everything is. Also on youtube.com/cpluscomedy. You can see our premiere show News Time, where it's the Daily Show except less funny. This week's episode is about, I had to push an episode, which is good. It's good that I had to push this episode, but I don't remember what this episode was about. This week's episode is, cable news. Cable news. And their first quarter with Joe Biden as president. Good man, I voted for him. And if you don't like it, you can get it. You can get it. It's a funny episode, mostly because I have so much time to write. And it still comes out on Wednesdays when it's supposed to come out on Mondays. Yeah. What else? Instagram, Twitter, @CPlusComedy. Me, Instagram and Twitter, @ChatBlackWhite. Like us on Facebook. Review, rate this podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, everything else. Thank you for listening. You're the best. I'll see you in another 100. Goodbye.